As the age is weighing on, many titans fall. In the video game industry, that titan was Sega. Having existed for over a decade, the company had been able to frighten even the greatest of competitors, such as Nintendo. But the times were not on the company's side. The Sega Saturn, an overly expensive and hard to program for successor for the Sega Genesis, was a commercial and critical failure at launch. The newer and better PlayStation and N64 blew the rest of the competition right out of the water, including Sega themselves. Even while the console had successes such as Sakura Wars and the popular Segata Senshiro commercials, the system simply failed to compete. While Sega revealed its next entry, the Dreamcast, it was thought that the new hardware could pull them out of the hard times that they were in. It didn't. Several years in, the console was only selling ever so slightly more than the Saturn. As 2001 reached its conclusion, the console had all but disappeared from the global market as old enemies and new competitors joined the fray. Caught in the middle was Red Company and Overworks. Even in these hard times, they were still able to craft compelling experiences that became phenomenons. Because of this, they were left with a difficult choice. Do they leave the dying carcass of the company that made them who they are today, or do they end it once and for all? Before that question could be answered, something most wonderful happened. After years of hard work in the animation department, from the OVAs to the uber-successful TV series, a project even greater than those was created. Developed with the famous animation production house, Production IG, a feature-length film affectionately called Sakura Wars the Movie was put into production. While previous productions had retold or added onto the story, this time the material would be wholly original, bridging the gap between Sakura Wars 3 and the next entry. The movie would tell of the original Hanagumi's exploits while Ogami was off in Paris, involving an evil American businessman bent on replacing them with new mechas of his own design. Also introduced was a new member of Orihime and Rennie's failed Star Division, Ratchet Altair, the first American in the series. While the story was fantastic, animation and sound were just as crucial to the series as ever. While the original animation style was a marvel in its own right, Production IG's take was breathtaking to say the least. All of these contributing factors led to the animated movie being a smash hit in Japan, both critically and commercially, and also making the series' stake in animation bigger than ever before. Success came for one part of the series, but for others, their time was coming to a close. Right after the release of Sakura Wars 3, the Dreamcast was on its last legs. Japan had a love for the console, but even that wasn't saving it from an untimely demise. Sega had announced to the world that they were ceasing production on the Dreamcast, and that they were becoming a software developer and publisher from then on. The allure the console still gave to the Japanese public gave the team at Red Company time to think. Do they rush the next entry to release quickly and leave the console on a positive note, or do they abandon it and make a fully fledged fourth entry on their former competitor's brand new PlayStation 2? The teams chose the former this time around. Having only 10 months to complete the project, the teams rushed to complete it, working day in and day out. The team was trying to create something just for the fans. To relate to this, the team chose a new poem that was somber, yet very much related. It was less about war and more about the fleeting lives of our heroes. Koiseo Otome, or Fall in Love Maidens, was a popular line from a 1915 tune called the Gondola Song. The name of the game would be more fitting than one would realize. While previous games in the franchise were fully blown sequels, this time around it was something more intimate and more of a fan disc in celebration for the series. Corners had to be cut. A few brand new assets were created, and much of what had been made for the previous entry and the ports of the originals were reused. That's not to say that the story wasn't original, though. Ogami was once again back with the Tekokekiden, fighting demons and reminiscing with old flames. As this was the final entry in the Ogami saga, this time you didn't get to choose who you would end up with. The game's functions of reading your previous saves was used to great effect. Now Ogami could finally end up with whomever the player had chosen for him, but a wrench was thrown in this. Reading previous games' saves meant that Sakura War 3's data was also read, as well as creating a love triangle situation with our hero. Romanticism aside, instead of being told in an episodic format, the game was laid out as a play with its own 3-act structure. Surprisingly enough, the story revolved around a single play of the famous Les Miserables. Unsurprisingly, this situation leads to many mistaken coincidences around the play's marriage scene. Because this time Ogami has been made the director of the play, he has a hard time deciding what to do with the scene, so he unfortunately asks all the other girls about marriage, and of course, wacky misunderstandings ensue. But all isn't fun and games, as an old ghost of the Ginza region emerges that even the Hanagumi can't defeat alone, causing both Tokyo and Paris to unite in an amazing finale for the series. Sakura Wars 4, Fall in Love Maidens, piles on the fan service, but not in the way that you'd expect. The theme of the game is about falling in love, but is more about how great of a character Ogami is, and by extension, how great of a person you are. The characters of both of the Hanagumis, clearly representing the developers, heap praise and gratitude onto Ogami by the truckloads. Even during the love triangle situations, which ended horribly in the past, depending on who Ogami picks, there is a special scene that cleanly and clearly resolves the relationship with the other. The reconciliation, combined with how chaste, platonic, and oblique the portrayals of the relationship are anyway, successfully prevents Ogami from looking like a slimy playboy. The culmination of their praise comes with the Sobu, or Dual Warrior, a single overpowered Kobu that is piloted by Ogami and the player's hero of choice. The series' ultimate power fantasy. This combined with the shockingly short playtime, nearly 1/3 of the other entries, makes the game feel sort of like a bonus disc or code, a thank you and farewell to the fans of the series. Even with the console's passing as a major competitor, many fans still turned out for the final entry's release. Selling slightly less than the previous game at 290,000 copies, Sakura Wars 4 was still a surprising hit for a dying console. Japan still couldn't get enough of Sakura Wars even then. As the console passed on, it was up in the air if the series would survive the transition, but looks can be deceiving. In this brave new world, how long could the franchise truly last?